Alright lads, notice the title of the video. Where oh where has Chris Eubank Jr. gone? Right? January 2021. Last time Eubank Jr. fought, December 2019. Now, as we all know, last year was not great for a lot of things, but fights were still made. We still saw plenty of fighters. We didn't see any of Eubank Jr. He has been, by his standards, quite quiet over the last year. We've seen snippets of him training with Roy Jones, saying this, that and the other, making a few call-outs here and there, but in terms of fights, we've seen very little. We've seen hardly anything. We've not even had any fight news. We've not even had him even allude to any fight news. And that has me wondering, what's going on here? Like, when are we going to see Eubank Jr. again? Because Eubank Jr. can be a bit annoying sometimes. He can be a bit obnoxious in the way he comes across. I enjoy watching him fight. I've always enjoyed watching Eubank Jr. fight. I've enjoyed watching him fight for many, many years now. He's entertaining. He's athletic. He's not the biggest puncher in the world, but he will throw punches non-stop for 12 rounds. There's a bit of pop there as well. It's always a wonder, when he's on the big stage, will he freeze, how will he go? There's a lot about Eubank Jr. that I enjoy watching. I want to see what he looks like with Roy Jones. Now, I give him my 2 cents on Eubank Jr. and Roy Jones as a partnership, trainer partnership. In my opinion, I think Eubank needs a more technical trainer than someone like Roy Jones, because Roy Jones, I remember doing a video during the summer, and I said something along the lines of Roy Jones Jr. in his prime was making a lot of mistakes technically, and he was able to compensate for it with athleticism. Now, if Eubank Jr. is looking at a prime Roy Jones thinking, I want to be like that, athleticism isn't his problem, it's technique. He needs to have that good fundamental technique. And I think that maybe by him going to Roy Jones, he's looking at the athleticism of Roy Jones, trying to implement that. Which is why I said in the video I done back in the summer, he needs maybe a more technical trainer, maybe like a Virgil Hunter or someone like that. And people were saying, oh, Roy Jones was this, was that in his prime, how was he not a good trainer? I'm like, you're not getting the point. He done all this by athleticism, speed. He out athleticized people in his prime. He didn't do anything by out-skilling people. Bernard Hopkins was the skill guy. That's why he was able to have a longer career than Roy Jones. So, I'd be interested to see how Eubank Jr. looks under Roy Jones, but we've heard nothing from him since. He's made a few little statements with Billy Joe Saunders, given a few IFL interviews where he's called Canelo out, he's called Charlo out. The whole Canelo-Charlo thing I find interesting, right? Because when Eubank Jr. fought Korobov, he fought him on Charlo's undercard. Who was Charlo fighting? Charlo was fighting Hogan that night, Dennis Hogan. And the view was, he fights on the undercard, we have a fight in 2020. Alright, we didn't get that. Alright, we got Charlo versus Derevchenko, it was a good fight. We didn't see anything from Eubank. Right? Instead, we hear Eubank call Charlo's name out once or twice in the interviews. He's calling for Canelo. He's going for Charlo again. He's calling for Canelo. He's chucking Billy Joe Saunders' name into the hat then. So part of me is looking at that, it's just like, what fight do you actually want? In my head, I actually believe that Eubank wants the Canelo fight. Not because, I'm sure he believes he can beat Canelo. I'm sure he does. Now, I wouldn't pick him over Canelo. I know most people wouldn't. But he probably looks at the Canelo fight and thinks, if I win, happy day, it's a massive payday. If I've lost to the best in the world. If I fight Charlo, might not be the biggest payday, and you're taking an L against Charlo. There's no shame in losing to it, but it's different if you're losing to Canelo. And I always felt that because it's very rare. Why do you ever see Al Heyman fighters? Really, because he is managed by Al Heyman. I know he's working with Al Heyman on the side. Because remember, he was the first fighter in their only PBC UK show to do it over here. It was 2 years ago now when they done that PBC UK show. That lasted long. That went well. 2 years later, it's dead. It died pretty much in 2019. But he'll call out Charlo 1 minute, then it's Canelo. Personally, I reckon he wants the Canelo fight. But we need to see Eubank Jr. in the ring. I mean, even the Korobov fight. Lest we forget, right? In February 2019, when he fought James DeGale, right? He said he'd be out 3, maybe 4 times in 2019. We heard zilch. Absolute zilch from Eubank Jr. And then it was just kind of an out of the blue, there we go, I'm fighting Korobov. It was just kind of literally like that. I remember going home just from the gym one night, checking my phone, I was like, oh, he's fighting Korobov? I'm like, that was random. So with Eubank, it's been very strange, very random. It's been very strange because let's look. 2017 Eubank. That guy was at the peak of his powers. You know, he was fighting in the World Boxing Super Series. He was on ITV pay-per-view. After he lost to George Groves, it just seemed like it's, you know, almost a WTF video. I'm not doing a WTF video on Eubank Jr., but it was almost like whoop, like that with his stock and everything. Maybe the matter of the way he lost to George Groves. But having said that, I still like watching him. I still want to see what he can do. He is the interim WBA champion at middleweight. Canelo was just vacated the super title. Therefore, Murata, you would imagine, will get elevated to super champion. With the interim title, I don't believe they do anything with it. Unless your mandate... Well, I don't believe it'll make him regular champion. So I think he'll still have to fight Murata. Even Murata is a tough fight. Because Murata has that... They'll do that in Japan, definitely. Definitely do that in Japan. I really don't know where Eubank Jr. is going to go, what he's going to do next, you know? Is he... Because he was... These guys at super middleweight are even bigger now. And at middleweight, Charlo, Andre... I picked Demetrius Andre over Eubank, by the way. Charlo, Andre, Munguia. It could be tough. So I really want to know what the story is, what the crack is with Chris Eubank Jr. When is he going to come back? What's he going to do next in his career? When are we going to see him again? Because I enjoy watching the guy fight. It's an interesting one. Let me know your thoughts, what you should do next. What do you think is next for Eubank Jr.? When do you think we're going to see him in the ring again? When do you think we're going to get him back in? How do you think he's going to look under Roy Jones? Because that's the thing I'm really curious about. If he comes back, it's not big. Well, if and when he comes back, he's not retired. He's obviously going to come back. He's still quite young. But when we see Eubank Jr. in the ring again, it's obviously not going to be against, I don't believe, a top tier opponent. They're probably just trying to ease him back in. But I want to see how he looks under Roy Jones. What Roy Jones has done, if he's done anything at all, or if we see him more Eubank Jr. who's more willing to listen. Because he needs to respect Roy Jones, as opposed to, Adam Boot couldn't work with him. Ronnie, what was the guy's name? I can't remember the original trainer, but remember when he fought Billy Joe and he was telling his trainer to shut up in the corner? Ronnie, no, name slips my mind. But yeah, he was really not respecting some of those old trainers. So we need to see how he looks. But I want to see him back in the ring. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Smash the like button, lads, if you haven't, of course, already. It does help out the channel. We want to get the 4K quick. I want to get the 4K. We want to get this year good. We want to get this year growing. So I'm doing videos left, right, and centre these days. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Hope you all enjoyed it, lads. I'll talk to you. Peace.